Lifelines to Healing is a national movement of the PICO National Network. Everybody knows who PICO is, correct? Yes. All right, so I can skip that spiel, amen. Lifelines was born out of a number of African American and Latino clergy sitting in Washington, D.C. We were in D.C. for a healthcare event. And we sitting around, we saying, man, we excited about healthcare, but I got to go home and bury a child tomorrow. So what's the point of having health care? I ain't got nobody that's living to take advantage of it. So I'm starting to have some very serious conversations about how do we make sure that while we are paying attention to the quality of life issues, we are also paying attention to the basic life issue. Right? And it became, I think, a very germinated conversation, very agitational for a lot of us, because within our network historically, there was a little bit of a challenge because people really didn't have a sense of how you could win the issue of gun violence. So because some folks couldn't imagine how you could win it, it seemed like something not worth organizing around. All right? And we began to say to ourselves, you know, man, our history is filled with unwinnable, seemingly unwinnable tasks. All right? If we only engage in stuff that we know we can win, we probably still be picking cotton, riding on the back of the bus, because at that time, nobody thought you could win that either. I say amen. So the boldness and the pain of the limited number of clergy that were there really helped to raise some serious questions. Folks in the Bay Area, folks in Michigan, Louisiana went back to some of their places and started to ask some of these questions. And out of that, this campaign was born. We began to appreciate a couple of things. First thing, the U.S. has the highest incarceration rate in the world. If you were to combine all of the developed countries and take all of the people they've incarcerated, you combine all of them, we still would have more folk in jail, our country, than England and Russia and China all combined. So there are some people that will make you think that this is just a normal way of life, but nowhere else in the world is this normal. All right. It's important for us to wrap our brain around that, because I have found that this campaign, while we are attempting to change the hearts and minds of a lot of people outside of our communities and congregations, the first conversion, transformation, is usually internal to us. You understand that? Right. We have to change our own way of thinking before we can convince somebody else to treat us differently. That's why it's important for us to connect our struggle not just to Florida, Orlando, Pensacola, then go larger, Philadelphia, Detroit, California. That's still too small. Yes. We got to realize that there are people living with pain and hurt all over this world, and they should be looking at us and figuring out how did you solve that problem. We should be looking at them and figuring out how did they solve their problem, because all of our problems at the end of the day, y'all heard me last night talking about that root, right? Yes. Amen. It's all coming from the same root. So the highest form of incarceration at the same time, I mentioned this last night, since 2011, since September 11, 2001, more than 100,000 gun murders. So people have been killed. Someone else shot them with a gun. Another 100,000 on top of that, suicides by guns. So the loss of life associated with a gun in this country is astronomical. Yes. I call guns weapons of mass destruction for our community. Yes. Someone said, oh, but I got a right to bear arms. Why don't you let everybody know the nuclear weapon is? That's right. That's right. Those laugh. That's ridiculous, McBride. But guess what? We 200,000 people. So again, nowhere else in the world are these numbers even approaching this. War-torn countries are killing each other with this level of just, it's not. So again, we have to question. Brother Alvin talked yesterday about calling the question.
Yes.
This is not the way God intended for us to be or live. All right? People of faith, we got to be willing to amplify that truth. This is not the way God, the fact that you feel like you have to own a gun to protect you and your family is not the way God intended for you to live. Sure, you got a right to do it. My dad told me, son, you see a big truck coming and you got the green light and he barreling down the street. You can step out there if you want to. So you'll be right. You'll be dead and right. So just because we have a right to do something don't mean necessarily we should just take it as the way of the world. All right? So our national network, I'm skipping a lot of that. Our national, well, maybe not all of it. As people of faith, we find these realities to be morally unacceptable. Someone say morally unacceptable. Morally unacceptable. Say it again, morally unacceptable. Morally unacceptable. And we are committed to supporting policies and practices that are far more effective, compassionate, and economically productive. We believe that the mass incarceration of millions of Americans has not made us safer.
That's right.
But has weakened our families.
That's right.
It has diminished economic opportunity. And it has contributed to the violence and moral decay of our city. So, Lifelines to Healing promotes local initiatives that will radically reduce violence through proven evidence-based strategies and by changing state and federal policies that needlessly and destructively contribute to the mass incarceration of our society. So, if you were to take a graphic in your mind to just help identify or describe what Lifelines is, just imagine it to be these 4 quadrants. Violence prevention efforts, and even more specifically, gun violence prevention. Mass incarceration / reentry. Jobs. Other people may not want to have this conversation with all these together, but we know that sending people back into the world without any opportunity is unrealistic. Only our community are being asked try to thrive without any opportunity. Money is not the key to happiness. That's what they'll tell us. Why they got all the money? Why don't you give me your money? Let me see how happy I am. Why don't you being broke? There you go. I don't want all the money, but I want to be able to pay my bills. I want to be able to take care of my family. Like, brother, I don't want to be sitting there trying to figure out, should I buy medicine today or should I buy groceries? That's not the way we're supposed to live in the quote-unquote richest country in the world. The devil is a lie. That's not the way we're supposed to live. All right? And then we talk about a public health model. We think a public health model is important because we have to break up this concrete ground of intervention that is always punitive driven. If we start to look at our problems like a doctor, doctors don't, when a person has cancer, doctors don't call them in the office and be like, man, what's wrong with you? You might as well just go home and die because you got cancer. I don't know what else to tell you. Doctors spend millions of dollars looking for solutions. And many times they fail. But they feel like it's still a great investment because the failures often open up new ways of thinking. Right? But we got to treat our young people and our families and our communities that same way. That's right. Hello, somebody. All right. So we got to figure out how do we organize such a way that we convince our mayors and our city council members and our state assemblies and our governors to invest in non-punitive models, even if they don't produce the greatest results at the beginning. Because what we learn from failure often helps lead to our success. Right? So health is one of the ways that we found to be a wonderful expression of how we do that.